had spent 2 weeks sailing from the north coast of Africa to celebrate the Passover in Jerusalem. My sons Alexander and Rufus were small boys, yet old enough to feel the excitement as we approached the holy city. As our small caravan came over the last hill, Rufus let out a shout, "Look, Father, the temple!" There she stood, the earthly palace of God gleaming as she towered over the city. Though my family had lived in Cyrene for generations, Jerusalem was for us, as for every Jew, our heart's home. That night we joined our cousins in Bethany for the Passover Seder that marked the beginning of the festival, sharing a meal and recalling God's salvation for our people. During the conversation, my cousins talked about the brother of Mary and Martha named Lazarus. They were neighbors to my cousins. They were saying that Lazarus had died. A man named Yeshua, Jesus, came weeping and mourning. Then Jesus raised him from the dead, saying, "Lazarus, come out." I have heard of this man, but I don't know this Yeshua or this Jesus they call him. As we approached the city, we saw what appeared to be a parade coming our way. But soon we could see that this was no parade. There were Roman soldiers driving 3 criminals toward the rock where criminals were crucified. Each of these criminals was carrying a heavy beam across his shoulders. It must have weighed anywhere from 75 to 125 pounds. One of them was badly beaten, nearly to death. I took Rufus and Alexander by the hand and pulled them away from the road. I did not want them to see this terrible thing. Just then, the tragic figure, who was badly beaten and sorely wounded, stumbled and fell at my feet. I saw that his brow was wrapped in a crude crown of thorns, and suddenly I realized who this man was. This man was Yeshua, Jesus, whom raised Lazarus from the dead and who people are calling the Messiah. Everything happened so quickly. I was lost in my thoughts when I heard one of the soldiers say, "You there! You carry his cross, and you, Jesus, get to your feet." There was nothing I could do. I picked up the beam, far heavier than I imagined, and pitched it over my shoulder. Then I reached out my hand to Jesus to help him up. He was clearly in pain, but there was still in his face a strength and determination. He looked at me in the eyes as if to thank me, and then he set his face forward to Calvary. It was only a 5-minute walk to the place they called the Skull, Calvary, or Golgotha. Dropping the beam before the executioners, I stepped back, searching for my boys. They were standing behind 2 weeping women and a man wrapping his arms around one of them. The soldiers stripped Jesus naked and laid him atop of the beams. They stretched out his arms to the sides before they drove the spikes into his wrists or hands as he shouted in pain. Then they nailed his ankles or feet in the sides of the cross. Finally, they hoisted his cross up to its final resting position. As the cross sank into the hole, Jesus let out another cry of pain. Because I had never been so close to a crucifixion, I had not realized what horrible thing this was. Rufus began to cry. Alexander became nauseous. There were 2 thieves being crucified with Jesus, and the soldiers hoisted each of them into the air. The sound of their crosses dropping into the earth echoed throughout Jerusalem. It still echoes in my soul today. The Romans shouted to the crowd, "Take a look at your king now. This is a lesson from Rome. Don't forget it." thought. He is a king. A king of what? A king of who? Then I saw the etched out inscription hanging from his cross. It said, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. The soldiers, laughing, began to throw dice for his clothing. Some in the crowd wept, others hurled insults at him. The religious leaders stood with their arms crossed, a strange expression of satisfaction upon their faces. I've read about this before, but where? I thought. And then Jesus took a deep breath, and someone in the crowd said, "Shh, he's about to say something." This is what he said. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. These words changed my life.